Good evening, ladies. If everybody could please find a seat. And while you're finding your seats, I brought up something for show and tell. If everybody could please turn your phones on silent. And if you must take a phone call, please do it outside of the hall. Thank you. Nshei Ubnos Chabad welcomes all women and girls to a very special evening marking the yahrzeit of Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka. Tonight's program is Le'ilin Nishmas Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Alav Shalom ben Avram Alav Shalom and Rabbi Shmuel Alav Shalom ben Yaakov Yisrael Alav Shalom. Is Mrs. Lipsker here to say Tehillim? Okay, so we'll start. We're going to start with the Rebbe's Kapitel. If everybody could please stand up. Shir Hamales Elecha Nasasi Es Einai Hayeshvi B'Shamayim. Hine Che'ene Avadim El Yad Adonaihem Ke'ene Shivcha El Yad Geverta Kein Einenu El Adonai Elohenu Ad Shichanenu. Chanenu Adonai Chanenu Ki Rab Savanu Vuz. Rabba Sava La Nafshenu Halaag Hasha'ananim Habuz Lig'ei Yainim. Yechi Adonenu Morenu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach La'olam Va'ed. Yechi Adonenu Morenu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach La'olam Va'ed. Yechi Adonenu Morenu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach La'olam Va'ed. And we're going to continue with the Rebbetzins Kapitel. Shir Hamalais LaDavid Lulei Adonai Shahaya Lanu Yaimar Na Yisrael. Lulei Adonai Shahaya Lanu Bakum Aleinu Adam. Azai Chayim B'laonu B'charais Apam Banu. Azai Hamayim Shetafunu Nachla Avar Al Nafshenu. Azai Avar Al Nafshenu Hamayim Hazedainim. Baruch Adonai Shelo Nasanu Teref Lishnehem. Nafshenu Ketzipur Nimlata Mipach Yakshim Hapach Nishbar Va'anachnu Nimlatnu. Ezreinu B'Shem Adonai Eisei Shamayim Va'aretz. And now we're going to say a Kapitel Tehillim for Eretz Yisrael and for all of those who need a refuah shalema, Kapitel Chof. Lamnatseach Mizmor LaDavid Ya'ancha Adonai B'Yom Tzara Yisagevcha Shem Elohei Yaakov Yishlach Ezracha Mikodesh Umitzion Yisadeka Yizkar Kol Min Chaisecha V'Eilascha Yedash Nesela Yiten Lecha Chilvavecha V'Chol Atzascha Yemale Neranana B'Yeshuasecha V'Shem Eloheinu Nidgo Yemale Adonai Kol Mishalesecha Ata Yadaiti Ki Heshia Adonai Meshichai Ya'aneu Mishmei Kodshai Bigvurais Yesha Yaminai. Eila V'Recha V'Eila V'Susim V'Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Nazkir. Hema Karu V'Nafalo V'Anachnu Kamna V'Nisaidad Adonai Heshia HaMelech Ya'anenu V'Yom Karenu. This evening is also being sponsored in the schus of a refuah shlema for Shevat Chaya Mushka Bas Neto. We are now going to take challah in her schus. Everyone please answer amen to the bracha and have in mind anyone else who they know who needs a refuah shlema, including Moshe Chaim Halevi ben Devorah Gela. And as we always do before we do a mitzvah, we're going to be giving tzedakah before taking challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kedishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lahafrish challah. Yehi Ratzain Milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu V'Elohei Avosenu Sheyabane Beis Hamikdash B'Mheira B'Yameinu V'Sein Chalkeinu B'Seirasecha. Yehi Adonai Morenu Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach La'olam Va'ed. It's very easy to become immune to seeing Rebbe videos because, Baruch Hashem, we can look at them whenever we want to, whenever we have a chance. I was walking with a friend of mine, one of my good friends and walking partners, and there was something we were discussing during our walk. And a little while later, on my phone, she sent me a link to something we had been discussing in a Rebbe video, and I had the pleasure of watching it. But let's remember that even though it's something that we can do so easily, it's actually so mind-boggling that we have all of these opportunities. So please, we're going to be hearing from the Rebbe directly. Let's give our attention to the Rebbe.
And became a foot doctor. I came to Crown Heights on Kingston Avenue and started work. I received a phone call that I should go do a house call for Mr. Schneerson. I went there, treated her. She gave me tea and cake, and I left. The next day in the office, the secretary, she goes, "You went to see the wife of the top leader in the neighborhood, and few people get to meet her, but you got to meet her." I kept going back probably every 2 months to see the Rebbitzin. She took a very special interest and became what I called a friend. She would ask me how I'm doing, all questions about how's work, life, how's your mother? You go out and date? I said, yeah. Promise me you'll marry a nice Jewish girl.
ודוס זכר דהירו בנגיע לכל אחד ויחד. על בשעה טרפת הידן, די גרישי סיניוני בזה איז הזיכר, das nicht bederach mikre nikre chas v'sholem. No das בהשגחה פרוטיס, darf gleich on dem sich misanien sein, אפשר kann ihm helfen, beruchnis oder begashmis oder in beide Inyonen. Wo das der Seder von Baal Shem Tevon.
I remember Mr. Schneerson once said to me, "If you ever need my help, doctor, I'll help you." I dated this young lady. It turned out her father got very sick. She called me up pretty sad, crying, said, "Could you please get a bracha from the Rebbe and call the Rebbitzin up to do that?" I said, "Sure, what's the matter? My father's very sick, he needs a surgery. We don't know the future." I said, "Okay, I'll make the call." I called Mr. Schneerson up and I said, "Look," I said, "could you please do me a favor and ask your husband for a bracha?" And she says, "Get me the name of the gentleman and his mother's name, I'll pass it on." I said, "Fine." She goes, "Not to worry, all will be well."
We arrived in the United States in 1975, and we came to Crown Heights. And I worked for Mrs. Frida Kugel for a very short time. She still has the business with her wigs. One day, I answered the phone, and the lady on the other line was a Russian-speaking woman. She said, "Who are you? What is your name?" I said, "My name is Rita." "And where is Frida?" I said, "She's not home. Can I take a message, please?" She said, "Yes, you will, but later. Tell me about yourself. Who are you? Where are you coming from?" It was difficult to get out. And your family and parents and your siblings, you have plans for them to come. She was so caring.
Tut tevli brius, Sachen, wo sie seinen gut für der Zweiten nicht mehr sich. Durch Dru, was helft ihm reis, durch beweisen ihm lieblichen Ponne und geben ihm nächste Tevel und sich noch fragen bei ihm, was macht und was geht das bei ihm in der Mischproche und ausdrücken ihm alle gute Bloches und Wünschen, wo das geht noch mehr zu in dem Tevel Hashamayim, der Eberster gibt ihm noch mehr Bloches.
I said, "Will you please introduce yourself, because I felt inside something unusual, And she said, "This is Mrs. Schneerson." And I said, "Oh," I said, "I'm sorry." I said, maybe it was a little bit rude of me to give you such a direct question. I mean, who am I speaking with? but it's my honor and it's a great privilege talking to you. And I told her that my mother came to this country and she was diagnosed with a third stage cancer, and I have 2 small children, and I have to go to work, and that's what I'm doing. The Rebbetzin asked me, what hospital is your mother in? If you think you need more help, assistance, what can I do for you? What can I do for your family? I asked, to give a bracha to my mother and my children. And she said, send them to yeshiva and everything. I said, yes, yes. And as far as your mother, she said, everything will be all right. And she gave me a bracha. My mom lived another 24 years after that. 24 years after she was diagnosed and operated of terminal cancer.
The girl's father had surgery. I inquired how he was doing. It turned out the surgery went quite well. He did quite well. He recovered very nicely from a serious operation. I called the Rebbetzin back. She goes, is he doing? He's doing well. I said, yes, he's doing very well. I want to thank you and thank your husband for the bracha. And she said, fine, I'll do that. Thank you for calling. And as I said, I told you all would be well.
She was a Yiddish mama, and that's what you felt with each word, each expression, the caring and the loving person.
בזכות נושן צדקוני שבדרנו זה, ובפרט הזינו וסום זכי גרן, הכמה וכמה מבני ישראל נקרויס על שמון, und sie beweisen ein lebendigen Beispiel mit lebendigen Nishomes und lebendigen Gufen und kein Hefzig, weil diese werden nischanisch in ihrer Ruhe und leht ihre Anweisungen und leht ihre Beispiel.
Why are we gathered here? Let's do the Cliff Notes version of a few remarkable women in our history, and I think then we'll understand. Of course, you all know the story of Rachel and Rabbi Akiva. So I'm going to start at the place where Rachel has sent Akiva off for 12 years of uninterrupted Torah study in the greatest yeshivas in Yerushalayim. And many of you, of course, know the story of the neighbor who would come in every once in a while and you are so impoverished, you look so old, you look so haggard. Who even knows what Akiva is doing? Maybe he's hanging out on Ben Yehuda. Do you even know if he's actually in yeshiva? And every time that would happen, Rachel would say back to her neighbor, I totally support what Akiva's doing, and I believe in him. And one time that neighbor came by when it was at the end of the 12 years, and Akiva was near his front door, and the neighbor was inside. And Rachel said once again to the neighbor, you know what? If I had a chance to get a message to Akiva right now, I would tell him to stay for another 12 years of Torah study. And that's exactly what Akiva did. He turned right around and he went back and studied for another 12 years. Well, when Akiva came back after 24 years of uninterrupted Torah study, he brought with him his 24,000 Talmidim. He was now the great sage, Rabbi Akiva. And when Rachel tried approaching him, and she indeed looked like a very old and haggard woman, he said to all of his Talmidim as soon as he saw her, oh no, she belongs right here with me. And then the next words that he said are actually recorded in the Talmud. Shali v'shalachem shalahi. All of my Torah and all of your Torah belongs to her. In a different place in the Gemara, it says that because of Rabbi Akiva and his Talmidim, the entire Torah Shabbat Peh was not forgotten from amongst the Jewish people. Just think about it, ladies. The entire Torah Shabbat Peh means everything but the 24 books of Tanakh. So we take the 24 books of Tanakh without any mefarshim, and everything else is the Torah Shabbat Peh. And it was because of Rabbi Akiva and his Talmidim that we have that. And the Rebbe, in a letter to Nshei Ubnos Chabad, to all of us, the Rebbe says that we should really look at those two different sayings or teachings in the Gemara as being one fluid teaching. And what that means is that in the merit of one righteous woman, in the merit of Rachel, we have the entire Torah Shebaal Peh. So we have the Torah Shebaal Peh in the merit of a righteous woman. But let's go back a few years before that. Kaisoymar leveis Yaakov v'tagi lebnei Yisrael. So you shall say to the house of Jacob and tell the children of Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Hashem to prepare the women first to receive the Torah. And one of the explanations is that he was told to prepare the women first because the women, if the women were going to accept the Torah, the women who would be the Akeres Habayis, the women who would establish the environment in the home, the women who would be mechanech their children, if they would accept the Torah, then there was a point in going ahead and giving it to Bnei Yisrael. But if the women wouldn't accept the Torah, there was going to be no point in giving it to the men. And so we have not only the Torah Shebaal Peh in the schus of Rachel, the wife of Rabbi Akiva, but in a sense we have the entire Torah in the schus of the women who were given the Torah first. Let's go a few years ahead, and we can look at Dvorah Leah, the Alter Rebbe's aunt. She was raised by her mother, Rachel, the Alter Rebbe's grandmother, who, if you've read the stories in memoirs, know that she was a tremendous Talmida Chachama, Rachel, the Alter Rebbe's grandmother. And Dvorah Leah really fought in order to be able to study Torah, because that was not the minhag of her father. But she also became a Talmidei Chachama, and she became somebody who really, really wanted to live a Hasidic life. And in fact, when her husband, Yosef Yitzchak, was suggested to her, she agreed to the shidduch on the following conditions. First, she took him to her parents' grave. She was an orphan. And I'm going to read it from the memoirs itself. She asked him to accompany her to her father's grave, and then she said that she would agree to marry him under the following conditions. Yosef Yitzchak was to learn Torah with her 2 or 3 times a week. He was not to object to her continuing with her sewing and allow her to contribute monetarily to their household. They were to share equally in all they did relating to Torah and mitzvahs. They were to keep the fact that she was studying a secret. They were to live as followers of the Baal Shem Tov. From all of their earnings, they would put aside 1/10 for Meiser. They were to raise their children in the Hasidic way. And if they had daughters, they would teach them Torah as well. It was this Dvorah Leah, the aunt of the Alter Rebbe, who was tasked by the Baal Shem Tov to create a curriculum for the Alter Rebbe's mother to learn the Torah study that she was supposed to do when she was pregnant with the Alter Rebbe. And then, of course, as we all know, Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah, the Alter Rebbe's daughter, who was confided in by her father, the Alter Rebbe, when there was a tremendous kitrug against the Alter Rebbe. And it was Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah who called together 3 of the Alter Rebbe's Hasidim, made them swear that whatever she told them, they would agree, whatever she told them to paskin, however she told them to rule, that they would agree. And then she told them the story that her father had told her, that Chabad Hasidus, and in fact all of Hasidus was in danger, but particularly Chabad Hasidus, and that he was going to give up his life so that Hasidus should continue. And Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah then told these 3 Hasidim that she was forfeiting her life in place of her father's life. That year on Rosh Hashanah, the Alter Rebbe went against his custom and went over to Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah. He didn't usually speak on Rosh Hashanah. Went over to Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah to wish her a ksivach sima tova, and Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah stopped him and first wished him that he should be signed and sealed for a year of health. Motzi Rosh Hashanah, Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah and her husband Reb Shalom Shachna were in the Alter Rebbe's room, and from outside people could hear Reb Shalom Shachna saying, "What will be with our son?" And that is when the Alter Rebbe took responsibility to raise their 3-year-old son. And the next day on Gimel Tishrei, Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah passed away. So we have the whole of Hasidus Chabad in the schus of Rebbetzin Dvorah Leah, who gave up her life for the Alter Rebbe. Continuing a few generations forward, Rebbetzin Rivka, So many of the stories that we have, the Chabad history and the stories that we have, are from Rebbetzin Rivka that she shared with the Frierdiker Rebbe. And even more than that, we have the Maimer Basi Lagani, which the Rebbe said was not only his mission statement, but the mission statement for our entire generation, because Rebbetzin Rivka's yahrzeit is Yud Shvat, and the Maimer was prepared by the Frierdiker Rebbe to be given out on Yud Shvat. So we have the Maimer, we have so much of Chabad history recorded, and the Maimer Basi Lagani in the schus of Rebbetzin Rivka. And then just three generations later, we have Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka. We all know that it was Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka who really was the one who urged and encouraged and pushed the Rebbe to accept the Nesias. It was knowing full well what that entailed, because Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka, when she was deposed to speak about the Sfarim, said that the Sfarim belonged to the Hasidim, just like my father, the Rebbe, belongs to the Hasidim. So we have the Rebbe in the schus of Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka. And that is why we are all gathered here tonight. Over 70 years ago, at the very beginning of the Rebbe's Nesias, the Rebbe called in the then energetic Chassid, Rabbi Yosef Weinberg, Alav Shalom, to be involved in establishing Nshei Ubnos Chabad. Rabbi Weinberg told me personally what the Rebbe said to him, and I quote, "The Rebbe told me," said Rabbi Weinberg, "it says in Kisvei Arizal that the generation before Mashiach is the same generation as the Dor HaMidbar, the generation that was in the desert. At that time, the women were exceptional in a number of areas. They did not participate in the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf. They gave their jewelry for the Mishkan, the sanctuary. They showed great love for the land of Israel. The reward for this will be that before Mashiach comes, the Talmidei Chachamim will follow the directives of their wives. If we want to accomplish with the men," the Rebbe concluded, "we must first accomplish with the women." An incredible woman who is accomplishing is our first speaker for this evening, Devorah Melamed, who I kept on seeing in the notes, it said Russian Shlucha. Devorah is actually from Argentina. But Devorah Melamed, who is a Shlucha in Astrakhan, Russia. Let's hear about her incredible shlichus.
No, thank you. Okay, good evening. During my childhood, the word Mashiach just meant a song we dance in a bar bas mitzvah just before we get to the real song. I was born in Argentina, as Ms. Cohen said, to a very warm, beautiful Jewish family, but not from. A big shout out to my mom and my sister who are here. One second, I'm just gonna pull it up. Okay. And so during my upbringing, as you could tell, since it wasn't our normal conversation, the Mashiach topic. And in fact, it was pretty alien and pretty strange concept. And to me, what it meant, it was some messianic word that came from Christianity, because I related it to messianic Christians who were trying to bring other people to their religion. So I try to step away from that word, from Mashiach word, or Messias, as we say it in Spanish. And basically, it was just, Mashiach was just not mentioned. It was just not a Jewish concept. So fast forward 15 years later, my family moved to Miami. They were actually forced to move to Miami because there was a financial crisis in Argentina, where my parents lost everything they had, the home, the car, a full business of 30 years. And so we were forced to move. So we came to Miami. But it's not a sad story because it ends in a good note. After we moved, by Hashem's chesed, we met the husbands, which are one of the Shluchim in Miami. He's also from Argentina. And they took us upon their wings, and they really helped us, emotionally, financially, everything. They just did everything for us. And they taught us a lot, so we learned a lot from them. And we really love them, and they became part of our family. And so I have to admit that in the beginning it was a little bit weird, because I kept hearing Rabbi Husband, or Shlomi, how we called him, and he kept on saying the word Mashiach every 3 seconds. Mashiach Rebbe, Mashiach Rebbe, Mashiach Rebbe. And I kept thinking, like, why is he repeating this word all the time? Like, you could just say something else. And it was like every 3 seconds, and it just made me feel a little bit weird. Again, because of my preconception of what Mashiach meant. And I was like, this is not Jewish. Why does he kept, mentioning it? So I was still not connected to the word, and I couldn't understand the concept. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So with the time, I kept on hearing it, and he kept on explaining more and more what Mashiach means. And I sort of understood a little more what it was, but I wasn't connected to it. And it wasn't until I came to Machon Chana that actually was a special day of Koach Nisan. And I remember till this day, Rav Majeski sitting in the front of the table. And he's Farbrengen with us. And I'm hearing for the first time about Koach Nisan. And he was so passionate about it. He was just explaining about Koach Nisan with a lot of passion, but with a lot of pain. Because the Rebbe went through a lot of pain in that moment. And he gave it over to us. And he mentioned in that, in that Farbrengen, he said how the Rebbe was screaming. And he said, if we would have 10 people, just 10 Jews that would really want Mashiach would be here. It just sounded like a plan, right? It sounds like a simple plan. So I'm like, how come so many years go by, nothing happens? And I just felt a sense of responsibility inside of me. And I said, 1 second, the Rebbe asked for it. The Rebbe screamed for it. And we're just still here? How is that possible? Just 10. He said 10. 10 Jews. So I said, we have to do something about it. And at that moment, I decided that I will create a committee of 10 Machon Chana girls. I think some of the girls are still here, maybe today. Right, Basi? Yeah, hey. So we created a committee, and I went over to different girls and said, are you committed to do everything you can to bring Mashiach? And we were very serious about it, because we felt the seriousness in the Rebbe's words. And what we did, we were meeting every week. We were writing to Rebbe, and in the Igros, of course. And we were thinking about different things that we could do to bring Mashiach. We did a worldwide Shabbaton, which took a lot of effort, a lot of stress. I still remember the stress. But we did it. We did a bunch of other little events, the little things, Mitzrayim, little things. But the most important thing is that we were trying. We were really, really trying to do what the Rebbe wanted, because that was his will. That's what he wanted. That was what he really, really wanted. So that really lasted for about 2 years, I would say, until, we slowly got married. We all moved out to different places. And so slowly it just slipped away. But I always kept it in my heart. I always felt very fascinated and very strong about Mashiach. So what I started to do was to carry Mashiach, even though not in such a big way, but in every action that I did, in every small and big action that I tried to do. During the summer, during 2 different summers, I founded a performing arts conservatory here in Crown Heights for Crown Heightsers, for girls that were looking for a different kind of summer experience. And during that summer experiences, during those 2 summers, I wanted to give the girls the sense of Mashiach. And so during the shiur in the morning, what we did is that I taught them about the laws of the third Beis HaMikdash. And then we built our own, how do you call it, like little Beis HaMikdash, mini Beis HaMikdash? A model, yeah, thank you. So a little model of the Beis HaMikdash, which was beautiful, really beautiful. And the girls got to see with their own eyes what the third Beis HaMikdash is going to look like and build it with their own hands. So that was a very beautiful thing. Plus, our performance at the end of the summer was also related to the topic of Mashiach and how we could really relate to Mashiach in a real way. So that was something that was very beautiful that I was able to do here in Crown Heights before I departed. And I also, during my teachings, any teachings that I did, even if it was teaching Spanish in Beis Rivka, teaching, little children, or during Zumba. I also teach Zumba online to Or Menachem online school. And yes, we could dance Mashiach too. Okay, Mashiach could be danced, Mashiach could be sang. Mashiach is everything. Also, I'm a singer and a composer and a songwriter. And I also try to include in almost every song that I make, I try to include the Mashiach topic, but not because I have to. Not because the Rebbe said you should include it at the end of your words. No, it's because I feel it. Because I really feel that it's an important thing. Now, I want to move to what Mashiach means to me in my shluchas. So, obviously, Mashiach is everything. And that's why we're in shluchas, and that's why someone is good to go so crazy as to move from Argentina to Astrakhan, not because it's beautiful and because it's fun, right? Because we want to bring Mashiach, and that's our purpose. So I'll be honest, during our 14 years, I had a lot of ups and downs, and it wasn't so easy to keep Mashiach on mind all the time. And the reason was that because I had, an inner fear. Because of my preconceptions of what Mashiach meant when I was a child, I still felt if I'm going to give it over to non-frum people, they're going to think it's weird. They're going to think it's like this weird concept, and what is she talking about? Is she crazy? I'm not going to be able to get to them. So I try to sort of stay away from it a little bit. And I was just scared that they're going to feel it's like a fairy tale. But what really made a difference in me along the way was when I really started to learn the siches and what the Rebbe left us. Such a treasure. Just look at us. There's a Tut Alts curriculum that came out not long ago. It's just a treasure. Just look at it. I really advise everyone to learn it at least once, at least once, to go over it. It's just so powerful, and it really brings the topic of Mashiach to reality. And it's not in vain that the Rebbe really said that the way to bring Mashiach is to learn about it, because that makes you feel that it's real. It's a real topic. It's not just a fairy tale. It's not something that's going to happen in the future when maybe our great-great-great-grandchildren are going to be born. It's real, and it's going to happen now. So we have to be ready. We have to know. One second. Okay, some practical stuff that I did on my shluchas to include Mashiach. We had a Gan Yisrael. Of course, not every year we make it, but whenever we make it, we have Gan Yisrael. And what we did also with the children is that every day they were learning something about Mashiach. And then at the end of the summer, we had a Mashiach contest. And you would not believe what the kids knew. It was amazing. And they loved it. They were so excited. And it was just amazing to see it. It's non-frum yet children who know more about Mashiach than the regular person. Another thing that I created was I helped direct a series of 12 shiurim of the Tut Alts curriculum in Russian. And so we started to teach the ladies in Russian about Mashiach. That took about a year and a half, and then at the end we made a chidon an online Hidon, and your jaws would drop just to see how much they knew and how much they wanted it. One of the ladies says, after Tisha B'Av, I couldn't believe it. How come Mashiach is not here? I just couldn't believe my ears of what I was hearing from these ladies. And at some point, I also suggested a minute of Mashiach at the end of our weekly shir with my fellow Russian Shluchas. But besides all these bigger projects, I think what gives the most to the community is to see that you're sincere about it, that you believe in it, that you feel it. And, when they see you feel it, they feel it. And that's also beautiful. And I want to share, could you tell me how many minutes I have more? Fine? Okay. So there's a small little story that I actually used to do my nails. In Russia, you have to do your nails. It's like a must. And so I was doing my nails. I used to do my nails by a regular salon, and then I discovered there's a Jewish lady, and then I started to make my nails by her so that I could have a connection. So I actually switched to her, even though I like the other one better. And then that gave us a connection. After that, she started to bring her child to Chabad. And then one of the moments there was, I don't know if you heard about it, there was like this big Mashiach Day or something online during COVID. And they were making like they were going to say Shema all over the world. And it was like on the honor, you remember this? On the honor of the Mashiach. And I got so excited about it. I told all my children to put on new clothes, to wear, they had pearls, to wear the pearls. And I was so excited, and I was I was really preparing for this. I knew for sure Mashiach's coming. Like, there was no question in my mind. My children were so excited. We were like all preparing. And I gave it over to these ladies. And I said, you should be there. You have to be there. Mashiach is coming. You have to be there. So I didn't think that she's going to come. I felt a little bit weird about saying it. And then I didn't think she's going to be there. And then many months later, she told me she was there. She said, Dvorah, Mashiach didn't come. So they feel it. They believe it. If you say it, they believe it. Thank you so much. Okay, and finally, but most importantly, Mashiach with my family. So back in the days, I told Hashem that I would not have children in Galus, that I would only bring children to this world with Mashiach. But Baruch Hashem, Hashem blessed me with 8 children, beautiful, amazing children. And but I said to Hashem, okay, fine, not Mashiach yet. You run the world, not me. But I had to do something. I needed to make sure that my children are gonna grow up Geuladik. They can't be Galus-dik children. They can't. They have to be ready for Mashiach. Mashiach is coming. What, they're gonna be surprised when he comes? They have to know. So I started to do things so that they could really live it. They could really feel it. And so as I did with my community, when you feel it, they feel it. We know with our children, right? What we do, what we love, they love. What we don't like, they don't like. So that's the way it goes. So the children feel it. And so we Farbrengen about it all the time. By story time, I usually always end my stories. Whatever story it may be, I connect it with something to do with a wish for Mashiach, so that they could go to sleep with that thought. At some point, we used to have a suitcase. Each one used to have a suitcase ready with some kind of new clothes. So when Mashiach comes, whoop, they just take it out of the luggage, and they have something beautiful to wear to receive Mashiach. And I want to share 2, special things that I think are very special. One of them, I think it's one of the most powerful tools that I ever learned, and it's called creating a vision. And we all know that Eva mentions that when he was a child, right, as a very young child, that he already created a vision, and he could already see when Mashiach is coming, right? He used to envision it. And I think this is one of the most powerful tools that we have. And to help you understand this, I want to take you back a little bit to my childhood again. for one story that has to do with my amazing father. I have an amazing, incredible father who, besides being amazing and very sweet, he's extremely wise. He's a genius. He really is. And he used to teach us a bunch of Hasidic concepts without really knowing where they're from. And that was very incredible. And one of them was this concept of envisioning, looking forward. So as a child, I was a gymnast for 9 years. And the highlight of my small career was getting one day to the Maccabee Games. I don't know if you heard of the Maccabee Games. They're not so famous here. They're more famous in Israel. So that was like my dream, that I'll be part of the Maccabee Games. So that day came. I was 9 years old. And we went to a place in Argentina called Córdoba. Probably my mom remembers. Almost finished? Okay. So, the truth is I was very, very nervous because I saw that there are many amazing athletes. And I had a bunch of competitors. So I didn't really think that I had a chance, but I tried my best. So there was 2 categories. One was a floor category, doing exercises on the floor. And the second was a jumping category. So on the floor category, I think I did pretty well. I was very confident, and I was happy about it. But then came the jumping category, and we had 2 chances. I did my first jump, and my trainer, who was next to me, no good. And he pointed out to me what are all the mistakes that I made. He enumerated all the mistakes that I made, and he told me what I had to fix. So I turned around and I had to go back to my place because you have to run. And then as I going back to my place, I remember, it dawned on me, the concept that my father taught me of envisioning, looking ahead. So I started to think, and I saw myself, I just envisioned myself jumping perfectly. That's what I envisioned myself. Every detail that he said, I fixed it in my mind. And I went back, I stood there. As I heard the whistle, I started to run, I jumped, and that was the time that I got my first gold medal in the Maccabee Games. So, just to conclude, what did this to me basically was giving me this tool that later on I gave it on to my children. And I told my children that you have to envision Mashiach. You have to be able to see into the future and see Mashiach. Let's try it right now. Let's look around the room, and you see this beautiful, this beautiful Hasidic women sitting here with such a beautiful evening, prepared by Nshei Chabad. And we're sitting, we're enjoying, amazing speakers, and then we're having a great time, and there's amazing food, and then suddenly, shofar blowing. Imagine yourself how you'll be dancing. You'll be holding each other, looking at each other. You're like so excited you can't hold yourself. Like, what are you going to be doing? You have to be able to envision that. You have to be able to do that, feel it, see it. You should be able to get the goosebumps inside. That's the way we should feel, and that's the way we should envision Mashiach. And that was one of the things I gave my children. And the second thing, which I'll conclude, was, one second. Okay, so I don't want to go into a story because I guess we don't have time. So another thing that we did was just we hanged in our home. We, Baruch Hashem, after many, many years of struggling, we, Baruch Hashem, were able to buy an apartment. And in that apartment, the first thing I did with my husband was to hang a beautiful mural of the Beis HaMikdash that a local artist made. And we put Le'ashem Haaretz Umla'ah, so that my children and my community, every time they come to my home, they should see that the centerpiece of our home is the Beis HaMikdash. There are certain piece of our home is the future of Mashiach. So Hashem needs a home. Hashem really needs a home. We all need a home. He's waiting for a home. Let's give Hashem a home. Thank you.
I didn't grow on the way up here. I'm going to call upon now our singer, who we're so excited to hear, Leora Alter Natachi, who's going to share Tunagunim with us, and her accompanist, Devora Slavatitsky. Thank you so much. And while they're coming up, I just want to remind you that there's an amazing, amazing Miftzayim materials table outside. Please, ladies, if you didn't take something on your way in, make sure to take something on the way out so that you'll always have something available to give out on Miftzayim.
Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see you all. It's been a while since I've performed for Nshei. It's nice to be back. And it's nice to see the familiar faces, and it's nice to have someone musical and talented and so inspirational in the audience, which brings me to the next point. Tonight is a Farbrengen, so please, I want to hear you all singing louder than myself. Should join in. Please join in for Eishes Chayil, because of course our Rebbetzin was the epitome of Eishes Chayil. Together. Eishes Chayil nimtzah, derachai k'mipninim nichra, batach b'alei bayla, v'shalala yechsar. Gimla sutai v'loira, kol yemei chayel, darshan tzemel fishtim, v'taz b'chefetz kapea. Ay sochani, ay soicher, mimlerchak tavi lachma, v'takam b'yoy l'layla, v'titan teret l'beis l'chek l'narisea, Samama sana v'tikacheu, mipri kapia natikarem, chagra b'yoy z'masanea, v'team mitzroy yisea. Talakita v'sachra, lo yechde b'layla neira. Beautiful. Kapa parsaliani, ve'adea shil chalahem, v'neisira levisa mishale, ki chovesa lavu shanim. Marvadim asisala, shishi argam al levusha, noida v'sharim vayla, v'shivtayim zidne aritzadin asasa v'tinkar, v'chagar nasna laknani, ayz v'chazar levusha, v'titzchak yayim acharayim. Come on. B'chachma, v'sayras chesed al shayach sefiya lichais beisa, v'lechem atzlis leisechem. Kom b'neya v'yashrua, v'yela, v'yehalala, rabois v'nois asuchaya, v'ataris al kulana, v'yay sheker I really heard you, and I appreciate that. Beautiful. Okay, continuing on in our Farbrengen, let us join together for the niggin of Beinani, the Frierdiker Rebbe's niggin, the Rebbetzins father. Please join in. Please join in. Put your arms around each other. Let's feel the opposite shoulder. Feel the love. Beinani niggin, I am. Let's hear them. Come on.
Thank you, Leora and Dvorah. That was so beautiful. And now I'd like to call upon our main speaker for this evening, Mrs. Tzivia Pizem from Sderot and the Kibbutzim of Shar HaNegev.
This thing's annoying. Hi to my beautiful sisters. Hi everyone. It's a schos to stand up here and speak to the ladies of Crown Heights. Kansiva Hashem es habracha. My name is Tzivia Pizem. Before I got married, I was a brook. To all those of you who I look familiar to you. We've been on Shluchos for almost 25 years. And many of you, I'm sure, have heard of all the war stories. And today is the day that we're honoring the Rebbetzin Eshes Chayil, so I decided that I'm going to honor a few Eshes Chayils that I've met over the over 500 days of war that we've been through. So the first one would be is that after Simchas Torah, and what we went through in Sderot. Monday evening, we decided that we're leaving Sderot and we have to go somewhere. So we said, okay, we're going to friends who live in Yerushalayim. And as I'm deciding that we're driving, we realized that I had just bought an electric car a few months before. We had no electricity in Sderot, so of course I didn't really have a battery to drive very far. So we tried figuring out where's the closest place that I can drive that's considered safe and that has an electric charger, and we're going there. So we drove to a place that's called Kibbutz Bet Kama, which I never knew existed until I had to drive there. And I come there and I'm looking for the public charger, and of course it's not working. And some guy comes over to me and he says, you know, what do you need? I said, look, I just came from Sderot. We're trying to get out of here and I can't recharge my car. He says, you know what, come to my house. We have a car charger. You can come to my house. You can stay there because it takes like 3 hours to charge. I said, lovely, thank you so much. I went there with 2 of my kids, my older daughter and my baby who was then 8 months old. I come to the house, his wife comes out, really sweet, and she says, you know, come in, and she made me really comfortable, and she gave me a room, said you can go to rest. And then, you know, after a while that we're sitting there, she says, you know, you're here for a while, can I get you something to eat? Now, being that I'm not really sure what her kitchen looks like, you know, it was very nice. I said, it's okay, really, we're fine, we're doing great. And it continued. My daughter sat with her in the living room, and I went to the room to rest. And a few minutes later, she comes to the room, she knocks, and she says, listen, Sivia, if you need a kosher kitchen, my neighbor has a kosher kitchen, and we can go cook you something there. And I looked at her, and I said, you know, you amaze me. I said, really? I didn't say I needed a kosher kitchen. I didn't say anything. And it was so important to her that I feel comfortable and that I feel good. And, you know, after everything we've been through, anything that she can possibly do, that, you know, she understood that her kitchen wasn't okay for me. And she's like, well, go to my neighbor and we'll cook something. And days after, I told people that woman inspired me. Really, I mean, if we would have met a week before, we probably would have had nothing to do one with another. But she made that small gesture, that small something to make me feel as comfortable as I can and to do something that would make me feel good. So she was one really unbelievable person. And then, like, she tried helping us, and we thought we're leaving, and then there were terrorists that came to their side of town, and they're like, okay, you're not going anywhere. And they pulled out a crib and everything. We were like all ready to go to sleep, and then finally her husband comes in and he says, okay, you're free to go if you want. I said, look, you did the mitzvah of achnasas archim beyond, but really, I just want to get out of the area. So that was one wonderful lady who really inspired us. And then we drove to Yerushalayim, we went to friends. We got there Monday very late at night. And Tuesday morning, we get a phone call from my husband and my father who stayed in Sderot telling us that our house was hit directly by a missile. So now I also know that even if I wanted to go back home, I don't have where to go to. So now we have to figure out where we're going. And we had wonderful friends who helped us to try to find a place. And my friend calls me up and she's like, listen, somebody's willing to give you their house. I'm like, are you sure? I mean, you know, I'm not a teenager or a young couple. I said, I have 10 kids. Like, somebody's giving me a house and they're letting me go in with 10 kids? She's like, yes. This lady calls me up, lovely lady, Miriam. She lives in London. They have an extra home in a very nice neighborhood in Yerushalayim, in Yamin Moshe, and she says, you know, we want to give you our house. Really, I was like, look, you know, it's really nice of you that you want to give your home. Are you really sure? I was like, I have 10 kids. I'm not promising you that your house is going to be a museum like it probably is right now. She's like, really, I want you to take the house. Anything you need, we want you to be there. I met her nephew who lives there. He came to give us the key, opened the house for us, and showed us around everything, whatever we need to use. And he left. He tells me, look, he calls up a few hours later. He's like, I'm in the supermarket. What can I buy for you? What do you need? And the following Shabbos was Parshas Noach. And Miriam calls me up, and she's like, listen, in the room, if you open the second closet, on the top shelf, you'll see a toy, a Noah's Ark. She's like, take it out so your kids can play with it. I said, Miriam, you're amazing. Not only did you give me your home, but you went and you remembered it's Parshas Noach, that my kids should be able to have something to play with, the toy in the second closet on the top shelf. And Hanukkah this year, we finally met them. We drove back to this house. How did my kids say, oh, we're going to the house in Tua? Like, it's their house. And they come in, and she tells my daughter, oh, let me get you some toys. So my daughter tells her, you have a Tevat Noach in the second closet on the top shelf. So really, it amazed me how really a woman who this is her vacation home was not only willingly, really, with all of her heart, gave her house to people so that we can have some kind of comfort zone and be somewhere safe. And now, as we came there, we came with basically nothing. We each left with whatever we were able to take, just a few clothing, and we left. And we had no idea how long we're going for or where we're going. And now also I couldn't go back home to get anything because my house was destroyed, so many of the things were destroyed as well. Okay, so we're now stuck with, we basically don't really have very much. Like I said, I have an 8-month-old and a few other kids. Now we need food, diapers, clothing, really basic things. And we met a wonderful, wonderful lady. I'm going to say her name even if she doesn't like it. Chani Kenterman. She's a Chabad Shlucha of Tel Aviv Mamila. And this woman turned her life upside down from the second the war started. She helped evacuees. She called us whatever we needed. And small things that you wouldn't even think about. But like, I needed a Rebbe picture in my house. I needed Negevasser, something that we all have, but all of a sudden I didn't have that. Or how did my son say, can you please get us an Igros Kodesh? Like, can we have something in this house? The small things that we don't even realize we need because it's just obvious that it's in our house. And she made sure, the whole community over there, one lady came to me, she's like, okay, I have 5 Rebbe pictures, which one do you want? And she came running to my house with a Rebbe picture. Some other lady called and she's like, oh, you need a sheitel stand, right? She's like, okay, so I'm bringing you that. Like, people really came and gave, and Chani made sure we had food for Shabbos. And not just like, schnitzel and potatoes. Gourmet food people made for us. Salmon and 3 other different types of fish and salads. And for about 3 weeks straight, we got supper. She's like, till you get the hang of it. And activities for kids. And then she started with, every week she started a hafrashas challah for a different hostage family, where every week she would find, sometimes in the last minute, somebody from a hostage family to come and do hafrashas challah. And she did it for over a year, and now she does it every month. She did not give up till today. She's helping the evacuees. We have still evacuees from the north who are still evacuated, and they're there, and she really helps them with everything she can. Now, she really deserves it. I said from her I learned how mesiras nefesh, that we understand that other people are in need and in trouble, and they need something, that I can put my life aside and I can understand that, yes, I can do something for somebody else. And that whole community, got together, and people did whatever they can. There were people there who gave their houses so kids can come and play. There were many teenagers that volunteered to color with the kids and do stickers and play fun activities, take them to the park. Things that, till we started getting settled, we needed something to do with them. And they helped us with all of these little things that seem really little. So wow, you took my kids and you did stickers with them. But yes, for us, that was something really, really big, because it gave them something normal to do with all the chaos and everything that they were hearing and everything they were living with. That taking them and helping them and with a coloring book and stickers was something a child should be doing, not thinking about which neighbor of his was murdered. So that small thing was something really, really big for these kids. And Hashgacha Pratis, my husband, sent me today the Hayom Yom, which the Rebbe talks about how women need to be in the front line. And especially in the Indian of Taras Mishpacha. And I can tell you that in Sderot, even when we did come back, we still had many, many missiles. Many missiles landing still, falling. It was still a war zone for many, many months after Simchas Torah, even when we did come back. And it's very hard to go out to the mikveh when you know that, bombs can come flying any second. So we had women call us. We used to come, drive them out there. We have a mikveh that is a bomb shelter, which sounds absurd to most people. But yes, it's a beautiful new building that was built in Sderot. And the entire building is a bomb shelter, so that when you go in there, the women can feel safe, at least to come in to do that mitzvah. And every time I took someone, or she called me, like, is it open, is it okay to go? And I said, what mesiras nefesh these women have. It sounds like the stories we heard when we were kids about the people in Russia, that we never thought we'd hear these mesiras nefesh stories again. But we did, and they existed. And every time I text them, I said, I'm just amazed, really, like, kol hakavod, that you, even with what's going on, it's important to you, and you're coming, and you're going, and you're doing this mitzvah. About 5 weeks ago, surprisingly enough, another missile landed in my house. That was the third time. I had one 16 years ago. I had one in the beginning of the war. And another one landed. And when it landed, we were home, me, my husband, and one of my children. And we were first shocked. The house shakes like really, and we hear things flying. And Baruch Hashem, we were all safe. We had made it to the safe room. And I come out and I'm looking around, and I call the guy from the government who was we're already the best of friends, the guy from the government that's responsible for helping to fix the houses. And I call him up and I said, listen, you're not gonna believe this, but it just fell by me. He's like, come on, you're kidding. I'm like, no, I'm serious. He's like, okay. Now in Hebrew, there's this statement, pam shlishit glida. Like the third time is ice cream. He's like, okay, go, take your kids and go for ice cream. So we have this big picture that's Pam Shlishit Glida. He said there was nothing else to do but to laugh. And I said, funnily enough, is that missile actually made me the opposite of what I was till then. I was just nervous and anxious and just finished my house already. And then I was just like, you know what? I think Hashem is just trying to tell us that we need to look at the positive things. What is good about this? Baruch Hashem, we're alive, we're healthy, as opposed to many of our friends and neighbors that we know who are no longer with us. We have many of our police officers who were murdered on Simchas Torah that we personally know. And we are in Shluchas with the kibbutzim that surrounds Sderot, and I teach in their high school. I teach English. I'm the English coordinator there. And I have many students who were murdered, taken hostage. Their family members were killed. It's things that, till today. Like I said, I have one of my students who's the hostage who came back. And she's standing in school, and we're supposed to function. And she's functioning, and she's there. And I say, we need to look at the positive things, the things that we can take out of this that is good, and how can we see what Hashem does to us, and we may not know the reason behind this, and we still need to look at what is positive here. What good can I take out of this? And when it fell, and the radio, the television, they all came, they wanted to interview. I said, look, I really don't like the media. I also don't like to get up to speak. This is my mesiras nefesh today. More than living in Sderot. And my husband said, you know what? I said, listen, I think it's important that you do speak to the media. And he did. And he was really giving over that message that we need to look at the positive. He says, look, we had a missile landing in our house 3 times. Baruch Hashem, we're all okay. And he was talking of the importance of v'nishmartam lenafshotechem, the importance of going to the bomb shelter. And putting all of that together, that we decided that we're looking at the miracles that Hashem did to us. And together we're waiting for the greatest miracle, that the Rebbe should be revealed and come down, and Mashiach should come right now. Thank you.
This is my real height. Whoa, Tzivia, really in the trenches. Thank you so, so much. That was unbelievable, unbelievable. Ladies, it's in our hands. The Medrash on Rus says that all geulas that come to the Jewish people are in the merit of the righteous women of that generation. The Rebbe told us clearly that we are the last generation of Galus and the first generation of geula. And the Rebbe also shared with us what the Arizal says about our generation, that we are the Gilgulim of those righteous women in whose merit we went out of Egypt. The Rambam says that every single person should view the world as if it's perfectly balanced between good and evil. And any individual's one good deed can be the one that brings Yeshua not only to that person, but to the entire world. It doesn't have to be a huge gathering like this. It can be. Or, like Rabbi Weinberg used to remind us at the conventions, do you remember? Smile at somebody, say hello. We saw that in the video, what the Rebbe was saying as well. So it can be a simple greeting, a smile from you or me, just a simple act of goodness and kindness. That can be the one that will tip the scale and bring the geula. And now we have the pleasure again of Leora and Devora. And I was told, I hope I got this right, that they're going to be doing a very freilich niggin that we can actually dance to. And in Mirz Hashem, we should actually dance from here immediately to the geula and celebrate together with all of Bnei Yisrael in Yerushalayim in the third Beis HaMikdash HaBenuya.